وسلم على رسوله الكريم وما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ما كان محمد أبا أحد من رجالكم ولكن رسول الله وخاتم النبيين وكان الله بكل شيء عليما بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعني وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المؤمنين واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح يا فتاح يا فتاح صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم الأمين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, it's a great blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has given me and you the ability and tawfiq to participate in this gathering. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this gathering a source of guidance for all of us. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this gathering one of the means of our entry into Jannah. Jazakumullah khair for coming and for making time. I know that we are already very late, so you can time me today, inshallah. Tonight's dars or tonight's Seerah class will not be longer than 10 minutes. And inshallah towards the end of the class we will do a mashwara and we'll ask your opinion and whatever you suggest me. If you want me to do it after Maghrib, inshallah we'll do it after Maghrib. Believe Isha is too late, so whatever you will suggest me, whatever time you will suggest me, I will do it accordingly, inshallah. We are going to start a new chapter of our Seerah series tonight. In our last chapter, we spoke about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a young man, and we discussed many of the stories of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As a matter of fact, we have discussed some of the last stories of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that we have before he actually became a prophet. There are only 2 stories left now. Only 2 stories that we are going to discuss in this chapter of our Seerah series, inshallah. And then we are done with all of the narrations of the pre-prophethood stories of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I have said it many times before that we do not have all the reports of the early life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We only have a dozen and so particular incidents, and that's it for the first 40 years of the early life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like I said before, there are only 2 incidents left that we have to discuss before the coming of prophethood and before the coming of the first revelation. The first of these 2 incidents is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's marriage with Khadija radiyallahu ta'ala anha. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's marriage with Khadija radiyallahu ta'ala anha. But the first question that we need to answer is that how did Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam meet Khadija radiyallahu ta'ala anha? How did it come about? How were they introduced to each other? Like we have discussed in our previous chapter, that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a shepherd. As a young man, the first profession that he took was being a shepherd. So as a shepherd, he used to look for the people who had flocks, who had cattle, who had herds. And then Prophet ﷺ would go to them, and then Prophet ﷺ would take care of their flock. And then Prophet ﷺ would get some meager wages, some very minimum wages for this kind of stuff. Now, it's just so happened that the oldest sister of Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, she had a flock. She had a big flock, a herd of camels. And she hired Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to take care of her flock. She hired Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam so that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam take her flock outside of Makkah so that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam can graze them outside of Makkah. And that lady, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha's older sister, she hired 2 men. The name of another person we don't know. They are not mentioned in the books of Seerah. One was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and there was another young man. These 2 people were hired to take care of her flock. So they took the animals of the older sister of Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha outside of Makkah, and when they are done with grazing the animals, now they have to come back to the town in order to get their wages. And in the times of Jahiliyyah, you pay wages, you pay salary as soon as the job is done. So when the grazing is done, when the grazing is finished, now they have to come back to the town. So the young man who was with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said to Rasulullah that our job here is done now, so let's go back to the town and let's ask for our wages. And we should remember that at that time, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was probably around 23 or 24 years old. At that time. So when that young man said to Rasulullah, our job is done, let's go back to the town and ask for our wages. Prophet ﷺ said, why don't you go on my behalf? Because I am too shy to go and ask for it. This was the shame of Rasulullah. He said, I'm too shy to go and ask for it. Ana astahyihu. That I feel shy. I have haya and I feel shy. I don't want to go and I don't want to ask for it. So why don't you go on my behalf and you get both of our wages for us. So that man, he agreed and he came to the house of Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha's older sister. According to one narration, that sister's name was Hala. According to one narration. It's not a very strong narration, but according to one narration, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha's older sister's name was Hala. So he came to the house of Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, older sister, and it just so happened that Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha was there in the house at that time. So he came and he asked for his wages. Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha said, where is Muhammad? Where is Muhammad? He has earned half of this wage, so where is he? Then that man said that he feels too shy to come and ask for it. Muhammad feels too shy to come and ask for it. And at this stage, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha's older sister said that I have never seen a person like Muhammad. I have never seen anyone who has more shame, who has more shyness, who is more honorable, who is more noble, who is more chaste in the way he converses with people, in the way he interacts with people. Because she interacted with Rasulullah, obviously she hired Rasulullah, she interacted with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and as a woman she could see that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is guarding her gaze. And Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam acting very elegantly. So she said, I have never seen anyone like Muhammad, and she kept on praising Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the narrator of this narration, Ibn Ishaq rahmatullah alayhi, he mentioned that this was the first time when Khadija heard about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this manner. She knew about Muhammad, but she heard about Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this manner for the very first time. And just like any other human being, if someone is praised in front of you, something would enter your heart. And the same thing happened with Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, because Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is being praised in front of her in such a noble manner. Now what actually happened is that at the end of the same year, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha had to send her caravan to Syria. I don't know if you remember, but when we were discussing the lineage of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I told you that one of the great grandfather of Rasulullah, whose name was Hashim, he came up with the idea that why don't we make two business journeys a year? Rihlat al-shita'i was-sayf. One in the winter and one in the summer. Once a year we go to Syria, once a year we go to Yemen. Now Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, she is a wealthy lady. She has a lot of wealth. So her caravan has to go to Syria. And she's looking for someone. Now let's pause here and let's understand, where did Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha get all of this wealth from? Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha has been married twice up until now. Up until now, she has been married twice. Her second husband was a very rich merchant. And Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha did not have any children with him. Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha had children from her first marriage. Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha never had any children from her second marriage. So when that husband died and he passed away, the second husband of Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, he did not leave any siblings behind. He did not leave any children behind. The general rule of Jahiliyyah was, women did not inherit any wealth. But this was the rare opportunity for Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha to inherit some wealth, because the person who died, her second husband, who was a very rich merchant, he died, but he did not leave any siblings behind. He did not leave any children behind. So automatically it went to Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha. But by the way, not the entire wealth went to Khadija. Some part of it Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha inherited, and then she kept on investing on that money. She kept on investing that money into different kind of business ventures. And how did she do that? Just like we do. So she would order or she would purchase some goods at the time of Hajj in Makkah, and then she would send those goods to Syria. And then she would purchase some goods from Syria and then she would send them to Yemen. And then she would get some goods from Yemen and she would sell them in Makkah at the time of Hajj. That's how she invested her money. Just like any businessman or any business woman. But remember that she is a lady. She cannot go and do all these journeys, especially in those times. She cannot make all of these kinds of journeys. So every single time she has to hire a person. And in those days, it was a very common practice. It's still a common practice, but not that common. In those days, it used to be a very common practice that you don't hire such kind of person by a wage. You don't. You don't say to that person, okay, you go and sell my goods and I will give you 1,000 dirhams. You don't do it. You make it a percentage profit. In Islam, we call it mudarabah. A percentage. You give it a percentage profit. That 30% of all the profits will be yours and 70% of all the profits will be mine, because this is my money and you are doing a manual labor. So you share a percentage. This is what we call mudaribah in Islam, and this is something that is allowed in Islam. Islam considers it to be a part and parcel of legitimate business transactions. This is halal. So Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha used to engage in mudaribah, in this percentage profit. But every time she would hire a person, then obviously this person, he's not related to her. And he's not looking after her best interest. So every time she would choose a person, he would go and he would steal, and he would cheat, and he would lie, and he would never give a full hisab. He would never give a full account to Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha. So because of that, she would never able to get the money that she deserved. Alhamdulillah, she was able to maintain her dignity in the society. She was able to maintain a big amount of wealth, alhamdulillah, but she would never get the money that she deserved or the money that she earned. This time when she heard Rasulullah, when she heard about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she said to herself, why not this time I choose Muhammad? Even though he was inexperienced in terms of business, by the way. He was inexperienced because remember, he was a shepherd. He was not a businessman. He was a shepherd. He had never gone on a business trip. But she was ready to overlook that lack of experience because of his honesty. And he was underage as well. The general rule was that you choose someone who is in his 40s, who is in his 50s, who is a bit experienced, who know the caravan routes, who know all of this kind of stuff. Someone who is experienced, but he's only 23, 24. But she was ready to overlook all of these kinds of deficiencies or all of these kinds of things only because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was an honest man. And subhanAllah, it's a human nature. When a man interacts with a woman in a decent and elegant way, then it is perceived that the rest of his nature is good as well. When you treat a woman with kindness, in Islam at least, it's a proof that you are a noble person. And automatically Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha felt like that about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She felt like making Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam this time in charge of her caravan to Syria. So she sent a message. She sent an offer to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam through one of her slaves, saying that Lady Khadija, because she was a noble woman in that time, so Lady Khadija wants you to become in charge of her caravan to Syria. So this was the offer that Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha said. I can go on, but I know that you are already tired, so inshallah I will finish it. I said 10 minutes, probably I take more than 10 minutes, but I will stop here inshallah. Before I leave and before we end this gathering, if you can give me your opinion, please don't hesitate and give me your honest opinion. What time is more suitable for you, because I'm doing it for you at the end of the day.